Well, moving on for us here on this Tuesday evening, we want to tell you about a couple of new polls that are out in the race for New York governor, and they tell two very different stories. Each side is pushing one of the polls and pretty much ignoring the other one. The latest survey from Trafalgar Group, which is run by a former Republican political consultant, polled about 1,200 likely voters in New York. It gives GOP candidate Lee Zeldin a slim lead over incumbent Democrat Kathy Hochul, well within the margin of error. But while polls have shown this race tightening, this is the first to have him with a lead here. Real Clear Politics among those that are listed on that website. Now contrast that with the other new poll that we got today, this one from Emerson College. It shows Hochul actually improving on her previous lead from this same survey a week ago, now up 9 points among likely voters. Both of these polls have a margin of error of right around 3%. So, seems a little confusing. Joining us live right now to discuss are our two on your side political analysts, Democrat Jessica Schuster and Republican Carl Calabrese. Don't worry, guys, I'm not going to ask you legal questions. That was what Rob just touched on there. Really great to have both of you here with us. And now, a week out from the election, I do want to start with those two polls and some of the confusion that it seems to be creating in terms of all the prognosticators out there. So 538.com, which analyzes polls and does these computer modeling, if we can show our viewers this, says that Hochul wins 96% of its simulations. She is described by that website as, quote, clearly favored. Meanwhile, Real Clear Politics, which is another site that a lot of us follow, we get their polling averages, it describes this race as a toss-up. So which is it? Jessica, let's start with you. I mean, is Hochul clearly favored right now, like 538 says, or is it really a toss-up in your opinion?
I mean, in my opinion, I think it's important to remember that polls are not predictions. They are a snapshot of exactly what is happening when the poll is taking place. That said, I think that clearly the race is tightening for governor, but that Kathy Hochul is a tireless worker, and she's proved that. And so I do think that, she will be victorious on Election Day, and that probably the polls you'll see, the closer we get to November 8th, the polls will start to show that.
Carl, let me ask you, how do you view the race right now? Here we are a week out. A lot of people can't wait until this week is over because the ads will go away, which have been ubiquitous in this race and others. And I want to ask you specifically about some of the outside support that is coming in, especially for Lee Zeldin. I mean, you had the Florida governor DeSantis here, Virginia's governor here yesterday, Glenn Youngkin. Are those signals to you that the Republican establishment believes this race is within reach?
Oh, absolutely, it's that. It's also a statement on Governor DeSantis' part that he's pretty much put away his opponent in Florida for him to come to New York. But having said that, there's no question there's a momentum about the Lee Zeldin campaign. What's important about polling is not so much one poll today, but the trend of polls over a couple of weeks. And there's no doubt that the trend in polling over the last couple of weeks has been all towards Lee Zeldin. He's been winning on the number one issue in voters' minds, which is crime. Kathy Hochul continues to make mistakes on how she handles crime. She was on MSNBC the other day, and she made another big mistake where she said that people who are perceiving a crime problem are susceptible to a Republican conspiracy, that it's not really happening. I could not believe that statement. Now, the question is, with 3.5 million more Democrats than Republicans in the state, are enough of them either going to come out and vote for Kathy Hochul, or are they going to stay home? Lee Zeldin can win this race, but he needs an assist. And the assist is he needs a lower than normal turnout in New York City, and he needs to get 33 to 35% of New York City's vote. If he does that, he will win. And that's what you got to watch for. And polls can't tell you anything about turnout. We won't know that until election night. But right now, he's certainly in a race, and he has closed an incredible gap over the last couple of weeks.
Couple of other questions for each of you. Jessica, Kathy Hochul over the last few days has started describing herself as the underdog in the race, and Carl just mentioned obviously a lot more registered Democrats in this state than Republicans. I wonder what you think the strategy is there, and what do you make of this pivot that she's made? Because clearly crime has become a growing issue, and you've certainly seen a change in the campaign strategy with her sort of going after that issue as opposed to letting Zeldin fully own it.
Listen, I think the governor is describing her work ethic more than anything. Kathy Hochul works like an underdog. I don't think she takes anything for granted, and I think that is what she's trying to convey when she talks about, her status as an underdog in this race. I think that public safety is certainly top of mind for many voters, and you've seen that shift in the governor's message. But I also think that you've seen her talk about the real strength she has in working with the governor of New York City. She's made investments. She's talked about all of the things that she's done for New York State. I think that, Lee Zeldin, while he may be messaging well, I'm not sure that he has the record to match his rhetoric, frankly. So I really think that the governor here is trying to describe, her tireless work ethic and the way that she is communicating with the voters of New York State. And I think that that's her main goal and her main objective, and I think she's doing a good job.
Finally, Carl, a reporter at Axios cited a Democratic operative today saying that Hochul is dragging down some congressional candidates and could put other House seats in jeopardy. I wonder what you make of that, and do you see the top of the ticket there really having an impact like that?
No, I think what's going to drag down Democrat candidates running for Congress in this state is just a general red wave that's going to be coming across the country. It may be diluted somewhat in New York because of that registration number of Democrats, but I think the Republicans have a great chance of picking up 3 to 5 congressional seats in New York State, picking up some assembly seats, picking up maybe 5 or so Senate seats, and they're going to enjoy some of that red wave. If it's a real red wave and it crashes over New York's borders, then you'll have Governor-elect Zeldin on November the 9th.
Jessica Schuster and Carl Calabrese, great to have you both on. You're both going to be here with us a week from today. Hopefully you're eating your Wheaties and doing whatever, because I'm sure it's going to be a long night. Thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks.